just these butterflies can't take the way I'm feeling for you. So even though that I've got nothing in my stomach, and I'll remain to be pretty scrawny, my head and my heart is filled with you. But I still hope that I will come around, 'cause it's pretty freaking awkward, and I need to let it out. Still my head and my heart is filled with you. I hope it doesn't gross you out, darling. It's just these butterflies can't take the way I'm feeling for you.
Goddamn knew it from the start. Wrapped up in lost tonight. Can we figure it out before it breaks our hearts? I don't know how we fell apart. No, I am stuck in silence with the weight of time on our shoulders. Darling, I feel I'm falling down, down. Darling, I feel I'm falling down, down. 'Cause it's not right, it's not right, it's too hard. It's not right, it's not right, it's just too hard. Always felt this could get dark. Held on 'cause things change fast. I'm sorry that I didn't help at all. Who knew we could lose it all? Darling, I feel I'm falling down, down. Darling, I feel I'm falling down, down. 'Cause it's not right, it's not
Miss me, but let me go. Author Anonymous. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no goodbyes in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that once we shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. When you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know, and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Whitsunday Funerals Chapel. We have come together to honour our beloved, kind and big-hearted Adrianus, or Andy as he was better known. Andy would want us to uphold his belief that we should give thanks for each and every day. Take time to enjoy the good scotch and dance to the music. Marvel at the simple and beautiful things in life and smile and laugh often. My name is Laura Lucas and I'm honoured to stand before you here today. Andy was a thoughtful and doting family man. He adored and treasured his beloved wife Jo and was so proud of his two daughters, Monique and Christine. They meant the world to him. Later, he kindly welcomed their partners, Paul, Scott and Phil, into the family circle and always had time for a drink and a chat with them. He was a generous, proud and caring opa to Rowan, Piper, Declan, Ashley and Liam. You grandkids brought so much joy to Andy's life, and he adored spending time with each and every one of you. Andy had many nieces and nephews and extended family members who were in awe of his positive attitude to life and spirited way of living. They all will live on with a piece of Andy in their hearts. Flowers have always been a symbol of remembrance. We each share a journey through many emotions as we say our farewells to Andy today. But perhaps as we share the burden, it will become just a little easier to bear. Andy's family would now like to invite you all forward to say a personal farewell to him by coming and collecting some petals and scattering his final resting place with them as you think of his legacy. It is the legacy of a man who loved life, dearly loved his family, one whose presence amongst us will be sadly missed. As some of you may know, Andy wasn't a great lover of people touching his feet. If someone was to give him a tickle, he would laugh and squirm around in his seat. As you come forward, you will see there is a mould of Andy's foot, taken just 2 days ago. The family have asked that if you would also like to pick up the peacock feather that they have up here and give his foot a tickle, please feel free. They think he would love it.
Well, there's no need to analyze this kind of emotion, 'cause it comes naturally to me. A simple case of feelings, love and devotion. So tell me tenderly, I wanna give my life to you. I wanna feel my blood run through you, and I wanna touch you over and over and over again. We got two strong hearts, we stick together like the honey and the bee. You and me got two strong hearts, reaching out forever like a river to the sea, running free.
reaching out forever like a river to the sea. Two strong hearts, we stick together like the honey and the bee. You and me, we got two strong hearts, reaching out forever like a river to the sea. Like a river to the sea. Like a river to the sea. Like a river to the sea.
Well, I've always known pain's like a heavy stone. It's too much to carry alone. That's the story of love. It takes time to know it's true. You need someone to lean on. I need someone to lean on, someone to help you through. Hey, it's just let me carry you, carry you, carry you, carry you. Oh, baby, you let me carry you, carry you, carry you, carry you. There ain't no storm that can last too long. There's nothing we can handle in the morning is rain.
Andy will always be remembered as a caring, traditional gentleman. Born on the 1st of April, no one was ever going to catch him out. He was a laid-back, hard-working, modest man who never liked a fuss. He was born and brought up in Holland, where he wasn't afforded the luxury of a carefree childhood. He was expected to work at the family pub as a young lad and had a very strict upbringing. His days in the army taught him many things, and as he stood at his prized cooking spot, his beloved barbecue, he would share stories of his tough days in the army to amazed friends and family. Arriving early in the day in Australia on Melbourne Cup Day, 1971, Andy's English was limited to strictly yes, no answers. And with no Australian currency in a foreign land, you would assume that Andy was a little stressed. But no, young Andy wasn't two-faced at all. As he sat for what felt like hours, his only concern being the hungry growl of his stomach and his dry mouth craving a big drink of water or a beer. In Holland, Andy's surname is pronounced as Theuws, but Australians translate it differently, choosing to say it Theuws. Because of this, Andy was totally unaware that the airport staff had been calling his name repeatedly, but on he waited, unaware of what to do or who to turn to. It wasn't until an old fellow spoke to Andy in Dutch and informed him he needed to be at the domestic airport that everything started to fall into place. Andy's uncle, who had been patiently waiting for Andy at the domestic terminal, gave up on him, thinking he must have missed his flight, and so he headed home. A good Samaritan took Andy under his wing and offered to contact his uncle, which he did, and Andy was finally reunited with his family in Melbourne, his Aussie airport adventure finally over. Australia was an opportunity that Andy was determined to make the most of. He was keen to explore each and every part of it. Taking to the road with the caravan behind the car and his beloved Joe beside him was Andy's happiest place. He was also keen to share this experience with his family and friends when they came to visit, adventuring to the remotest points he could travel, revelling in each new destination they reached. He also enjoyed cruising the open seas, either with Joe or family and friends, or just because he enjoyed the freedom of the open sea. Andy was a diesel mechanic by trade, but was also known as Handy Andy whenever they went, as his skills with his hands were second to none. Whether he was fixing things around the house or repairing friends' and family member cars, you could always count on Handy Andy. As Joe pointed out, their car badly needed maintenance but was always left to last, a true statement to the big-hearted, kind and generous man that he was. Andy had a long-running friendship with Duncan. Andy and Duncan were great friends who were never too far apart, had endless adventures together, and always had time to share a bar, a yarn, and a cold or two with each other. Andy being known as the Mad Dutchman at the local pub. As a young, fun dad, Andy was always keen to get involved in adventures with his girls, even if it did mean he broke his arm while trying to teach them to ride a horse. He told them stubbornly, "I can ride this horse," promptly jumped into the saddle of the barely ridden horse, which didn't take to Andy being on his back too well, and swiftly bucked him off in front of his girls. The family ventured to Bali when Monique and Christine were young, taking in the sights and enjoying meeting the locals, who were all astounded at the sight of the two young blonde Aussie girls, some trying to touch their hair to see if it was real, only to be shooed away by a protective Andy. Andy always liked to remind Christine of the time when she played a not-so-funny joke on him that nearly caused him and Joe a heart attack. He would say to her, "Who could ever imagine a 2-year-old being so mischievous?" That's Christine up there at the top of the pole. Christine loved to climb the poles of their house, and on this day, she decided that she would climb all the way to the top and onto the roof, where she sat and waited for her parents to notice she was missing. Seeing as the family home was right beside a creek, Andy was on constant lookout and noticed their younger daughter's absence and ran straight for the creek bed, frantically looking for 2 hours or more. Upon sadly plodding back to the house, he heard a giggle coming from the roof, where he found his little Christine, who had been happily watching him search and loved every minute of their game of hide and seek. Andy never did let her live that down. Christine recalled how much Andy enjoyed spoiling their mum rotten. Just a few days before his passing, when Joe was discussing buying a new car, Andy was insistent she only buy the top range for herself, as she deserved the very best. As Andy approached retirement years, he was fond of pouring himself a scotch or a rum and taking to his favourite chair to watch a few episodes of MASH or the nightly news. Sometimes he was just happy having his adored Slim Dusty playing while he tapped his foot along as he listened. A visit from the grandkids always involved Andy reaching into his pockets. Not that the kids ever asked for it, he just loved spoiling them. Whether it was passing a driver's licence test or getting a good grade at school, he was always the generous, kind and funny opa that the kids will hold on to for a lifetime. Cherished memories to be relived forever. With these poignant memories in mind, I would now like to invite you to look to our screens to enjoy a tribute to Andy from Monique.
Good morning. Thank you for all being with us today, no matter where that might be. Thank you for coming together to celebrate the life of a wonderful man. Dad didn't really like a big fuss, and this is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to find the words for, so I'm just going to get right to it. Thank you, Dad, for being my dad. I couldn't imagine a better one. Thank you for being there for us, for everything. From learning to walk and climb aerials, to learning how to ride motorbikes and drive cars. From moving horses, lots of horses, to moving houses. You move mountains for us every day. For just being there for a chat, or a laugh, or a whinge, or a cry. You were our rock, our constant. Thank you for being there for everyone else. For helping out a mate or a family member or someone you just met. You were the first to lend a hand no matter what the situation, and the one people could count on to get things done. You're a doer. You were always doing something for somebody. Thank you for working so hard for us, to give us whatever we needed, to give us the best life you could. Thank you for teaching us the value of hard work and the satisfaction of a job done well. Thank you for teaching us how to do things ourselves and for giving us the confidence to try and for coming to our rescue when we stuffed it up. Thank you for instilling in us a good moral compass, a sense of respect for those who deserved it, and a healthy intolerance for bullshit. Thank you for giving me a share of your stubborn streak. I promise to try and use it only for the powers of good. Thank you for loving Mum the way you did. I know that sometimes you drove each other up the wall, but you were the example, the expectation that I held every other guy to. It was damn near impossible, but thank you for setting the bar so high. Thank you for giving me a love of garlic prawns, a love of ABBA, and a love of whiskey. But you can keep your oysters and your Slim Dusty and your 4X. Thank you for being the most Aussie Dutchman I've ever met. Thank you, Dad, for being my dad.
I would now like to invite Rowan forward, please, to share his memory of Opa.
One fond memory of my time with Orpa would be the sandpit. Orpa built this sandpit for me and Piper at the time. Spend hours playing in it. And when it came to pack it up, Orpa would rake it clean, leaving a nice pattern across the top ready for us to play next time. Piper and I thought it would be funny to run it back and forth, making Orpa say, "Goffra Domadoc," pretending he was angry or cross. We would do this over and over, and each time Orpa would patiently wait while cursing us in Dutch to re-rake it again. Man, was it good times. We then showed the other siblings, grandkids, niece, nephew, whatever, Declan, Ashley, Liam, this trick, just to keep Orpa on his toes. What fun we had. Thank you.
I'd now like to share Piper's memory on her behalf. These are her words. A couple of weeks ago, I was preparing for my formal and tried my dress on to show my Oma and Opa. I walked out of the office to the lounge room where Mum was waiting with Oma and Opa. I stood in front of them, and Oma and Mum immediately started with the compliments, saying how gorgeous I looked. Opa remained silent, so I asked him if he liked it. He simply nodded. I prompted him again for more by asking if he thought I looked pretty. He nodded again. I then decided to ask him if he was speechless, to which he also nodded. My Oma then turned to my Opa and asked him, "Isn't she gorgeous?" He nodded while starting to tear up. He was proud of me, and he told me that later, after the tears were done. This moment I will cherish forever, as he was an amazing grandfather who meant the world to me, and he will be so sadly missed by everyone. Thank you, Piper. Is there anybody else here present that has any further memories that they would like to come forward and share? Please look to our screens and enjoy a photo tribute to Andy.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand now. Stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me, stand by me. Whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh, stand by me. Whoa.
I love to have a beer with Duncan. I love to have a beer with Duncan. We drink in moderation, and we never, ever, ever get rolling drunk. We drink at the town and country, where the atmosphere is great. I love to have a beer with Duncan, 'cause Duncan's me mate. Yeah, I love to have a beer with Colin. I love to have a beer with Colin. We drink in moderation, and it doesn't really matter if he brings his doll. We drink at the town and country, where the atmosphere is great. I love to have a beer I love to have a beer with Kevin. Oh, I love to have a beer with Kev. We drink in moderation, and he drives me home in his big old Chevy. We drink at the town and country, where the atmosphere is great. I love to have a beer with Kevin, 'cause Kevin's me mate. I love to have a beer with Patrick. I love to have a beer with Pat. We drink in moderation, and it wouldn't really matter if the beer was flat. We drink at the town and country, where the atmosphere is great. I love to have a beer with Patrick, 'cause Patrick's me mate. Change key. I love to have a beer with Robert. I love to have a beer with Bob. We drink in moderation, just one more and back on the job. We drink at the town and country, where the atmosphere is great. I love to have a beer with Robert, 'cause Robert's me mate. I love to have a beer with Duncan. Oh, I love to have a beer with Duck. We drink in moderation, and we never ever ever get rolling drunk. We drink at the town and country, where the atmosphere is great. I love to have a beer with Duncan, 'cause Duncan's me mate. I love to have a beer with Duncan, 'cause Duncan's me mate.
Could I please ask you all to be upstanding for the committal? We have our time on this earth, loving, laughing and living, and then it is time to leave, to say goodbye. It is part of the natural and normal cycle of life and death. Andy had loved and laughed a lot in his lifetime, and it was his time to leave. We are here to give his body to the elements, earth, air, fire, water and spirit. From where he was born, he returns, spirit forever free. For his love and generous heart, we are grateful. He has touched our lives forever, and we give thanks. We offer Andy's body to the elements, and we pray for comfort, strength, and courage to hold us and guide us in the days to come. Adrianus, Josephus, Theodora, Theuws, may you rest in peace.
Hey there, Georgie girl, swinging down the street so fancy-free. Nobody you meet could ever see the loneliness there inside you. Hey there, Georgie girl, why do all the boys just pass you by? Could it be you just don't try, or is it the clothes you wear? You're always window shopping but never stopping to buy. So shed those downy feathers and fly a little bit. Hey there, Georgie girl, there's another Georgie deep inside. Bring out all the love you hide, and oh, what a change there'd be. The world would see a new Georgie girl.
In closing, I would like to share Silent Strong Dad by Karen Boyer. He never looks for praises, he's never one to boast. He just goes on quietly working for those he loves the most. His dreams are seldom spoken, his wants are very few. And most of the time his worries will go unspoken too. He's there, a firm foundation, through all our storms of life. A sturdy hand to hold to, in times of stress and strife. A true friend we can turn to, when times are good or bad, one of our greatest blessings, the man that we call Dad. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy's family would like to invite you all to stay in the chapel here for refreshments and to continue to share in your stories and memories of Andy. This now concludes our service. Please feel free to move around the chapel.